Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and this is yet another, I don't know what I called it last time, movie watch for Halloween movies, basically where we watch a Halloween movie and then I sort of do a little prelude where I talk about the titty action in this movie or any type of nudity whatsoever, because I was very excited. I thought, maybe they were saving up, they were building up the anticipation, and in the third movie of the trilogy, we would finally get to see some bazoongas. But instead, it was yet another sexually repressed Halloween movie. But first off, I want to tell you guys the reason why my voice sounds so off, and it will sound off for a couple of days. But the reason is because yesterday I was doing a scene for my film, and it was a yelling scene. It was just one line of yelling, and I got a little too much into character, and I had to do it multiple times, obviously. So, my voice is going to sound a little off, and I won't be able to actually rant like I would like to. I'm going to fucking sound like when you pirate a movie, if you've ever done that before, or if you ever watch a movie for free, like on YouTube, and like the voices sound off so that they can try to avoid the copyright. That's what I sound like right now. But anyways, I'm just really disappointed in this movie for not having any sexuality whatsoever. I mean, that's the funny thing, is that these movies have been so obsessed with emulating the past and emulating past Halloween movies that they've actually not emulated them to the fullest extent that they could because of these modern woke agendas. And one of those agendas is to take sexuality out of movies, because we all have to be ashamed of sexuality, and we all have to be ashamed that we're attracted to the human body, and we all have to be ashamed that we look at women with our male gazes. And so these Halloween movies have completely taken out the sexuality from the films, which has resulted in probably some of the worst movies I've ever seen, especially this one. This movie, even if it had Allison like fucking streaking around Haddonfield, which I would have given this movie a 5 out of 5 for starters. But even if it had that, honestly, it wouldn't have even began to save this movie, because this movie was so terrible in every way, shape, or form. It really just taints the entire franchise. Like, even more so than Halloween Kills, even more so than Halloween 2018, this movie really put the nail in the coffin in tainting the franchise. And so there is no nudity in this film, which I find really irritating and really kind of like cringeworthy, because this series has also pretended like it's grown up. It's had this feeling in these past couple of films where it's really pretentious, and they have all of this blank, generic philosophy bullshit like, evil doesn't die, it takes on a different shape. Like, ugh! And, but even though it's grown up, like, oh, it's grown up, but there's no nudity in this movie. Like, where's the nudity? Where are the titties? Like, this whole series opened up young Michael Myers killing his naked sister, stabbing her titties, and then a shot of the titty blood, like, just drenched all over like some fucking stacks of McDonald's hotcakes with some fucking titty blood syrup. And yet in this trilogy, there's no sexuality whatsoever. And it's like, how can you claim that it's grown up, it has all these allegories, it has all this political ideology, agenda bullshit. How can you really claim that when it can't even have some sexuality? I'm getting sick and tired of these movies that are really immature. And they're so much more immature than the films that people used to claim were immature in the 80s. Movies like Friday the 13th, which had tons of nudity, and people called that immature and sexist. But then you have this movie where, it's like people are ashamed nowadays of nudity. And it's really like, see, this is one of the main reasons why movies are bad nowadays, is this complete feeling of sexual repression that we see in these movies. And so I just really wanted to say that as sort of my last thing that I'm going to talk about in terms of nudity in the Halloween franchise. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about Corey, because, a couple of years ago, I had come up with my own ideas for a Halloween trilogy and also just other slasher movies. I was just having fun and thinking about, if you were to do these movies, you should do them this way and this. And it's funny because I had a vision of someone who looked exactly like Corey, exactly like him. And the events didn't play out like in this movie, but I find it funny that I saw him in my vision. And so I think that for this Halloween, this is a little announcement. Originally, Safi and I had a plan to do black reimaginings of monster movies, because I thought that would be fun. So we were going to do Blackula, Blackenstein, and Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. But I think that after seeing this movie, I'm really inspired to do all of my pitches for these slasher movie sequels, because I've been wanting to do them for a while. It's just that I don't know, I don't really I don't know. But now that I've seen Halloween Ends, a movie that's so terrible that I can't even really consider this a legitimate Halloween movie, because it doesn't feel like one at all. And after seeing this, I just feel like, I shouldn't be waiting to share my ideas anymore, because after seeing this movie, my ideas they're not probably very good, some people would say, but after seeing this movie, I really believe that anything would be better than this. Anything. Because, this just was not it, and I'm really disappointed, even though I knew this was going to be trash. So, without further ado, here is the review that Safi and I give to Halloween Ends. And thank you to everyone who has watched all of our reviews of the Halloween films. Our reviews come from a place of passion for the Halloween franchise and not from a place of hate. And so just understand that when you go into this review. And so here we go.
Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And guess what? We're reviewing a movie today. And can you guess what that would be? This is another guess, by the way. It's Halloween Ends. And I don't know if I misunderstood, but Marco said this is supposed to be a trilogy. That can't be right. That must have been talking about something else. But anyway, if it isn't a trilogy, then it must be supposed to be the very last Halloween. which is fine with me. Last year we did a whole series where we reviewed every Halloween movie that was ever done, and it's a mess. So,
and the what would you say the biggest reason of why the franchise is a mess? Because usually fanboys just say it's a mess because you don't make a sequel to it.
what?
Like it's like anything they could do is just automatically not good according to fanboys. Because, like, they just want the original over and over and over again.
Well, I don't. The original, you can't beat the original. The original is the original.
The second one's way better than the original. The third one's better than the original.
But it's unique in that it started everything.
Well, I know. You can't copy a movie.
Well, I know one thing, and one of the original creators was killed early on, and I don't know how many movies had been made by then, but that could have something to do with it, the way it deteriorated, the way it did.
But
it's my opinion that it's deteriorated.
Did it really deteriorate?
Well, not all
now?
of it. There were some of the good movies sprinkled in between, but there's no consistency. It's like the story started all over again and again and again, and it would take different turns. And I would think if it was one Halloween series, then it would follow a storyline.
So what you're saying is
it was like up and down, like a roller coaster going through different.
The main problem with the Halloween series is that it doesn't follow one continuity.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It doesn't have any continuity.
Well, so
we did see some really good ones, and I guess they were made by different people.
Yeah, but so this trilogy, this one decided, you know what? Let's pretend that all the sequels don't exist and create another continuity, as if that makes anything better. You know, Halloween 6, even the theatrical version is trash, but the producer's cut is really good. But even though people don't like that one, the thing that was good about that movie is that it tried to piece together the other Halloween movies. And that at least made it somewhat acceptable because at least they tried. With this trilogy, they not only didn't try to piece together the Halloween movies, but then they went and they plagiarized them. And they said, we don't like the sequels because they have this and that and this and that. You know, the same old bullshit complaints. You know, with Halloween 5, you see his eye. That's a legitimate complaint about a movie. And then with the Rob Zombie Halloween 2, there's a white horse in the movie. Oh no. But then when it comes to this Blumhouse Halloween trilogy, literally all that they did was plagiarize these movies that they claim to hate. And they do it in such a way to where they completely do them like in a wrong way. Like all the stuff that they plagiarize, they take it and they turn it into trash. Like the thing within this movie, the way that they're trying to plagiarize Christine, it completely went against the movie and made it feel like this isn't a Halloween movie. This is a Stephen King movie. Like, I totally felt like this movie, the perfect way to describe it is, what if Stephen King did Halloween? All the way down to Michael Myers living in the sewer like fucking Pennywise. So that's what I felt like, was that this is a prime example of why plagiarism is bad, is because when you plagiarize, you know, you just can't remake something and make it any better than it was unless you do your own idea. And this movie was so busy trying to plagiarize that it was trash once again. Safi?
Well, I don't know what to say. My favorite Halloween movie, well, there were a couple of them, but the most favorite, it was when they had a reality show, and they were in his house.
Halloween Resurrection.
Michael Myers' house. And I guess he'd been living in the basement or something in a hidden area. And
oh, he did? What are you talking about?
Wasn't he in there? And they had, they found food scraps.
But he escaped. He escaped from the asylum, and he
came
there.
Yeah. But anyway, and then they had one of the two. It was a reality show, so there were people competing against each other.
No, they weren't.
Well, they were, weren't they? And the one who would...
No.
Well, okay. Well, they were not related. They weren't from Haddonfield. They were just random people for this show. And I'll just never forget one of the producers or originators, creators of the show dressed up like Michael Myers, and then Michael Myers showed up and they were staring at each other. I just never forget that. For some reason, I liked that version.
Well, yeah, that movie was very, very good.
It was just different. It was different.
And of course, it got criticized because it has jokes in it.
Well, I don't care. It just was that part was hilarious.
And then they used kung fu to fight him. But the thing is that, like, why would kung fu exist? Like, that's why it literally exists, is so that you can defend yourself.
Right.
And so why wouldn't somebody in the universe fight Michael Myers using kung fu?
Yeah.
Like, if they made a Chinese version, then all people would be doing is just karate chopping Michael. That would have actually been a good movie. Like a 1970s, like Bruce Lee meets Michael Myers. That would have been a good movie.
It would have been interesting. I mean, I'm all for horror and Halloween, because it's been kind of like a fixture in growing up for me, and for Marco too. Except we just watch the same one every year.
Oh, I don't.
No, we, meaning the rest of the family.
Yeah,
I don't watch the same one every year. The original one.
I'm sick and tired of the first one.
Well, yeah, I'm tired of it too.
I'm sick of it now, to the point of where it's like these people, they need to get off of their fixation on the original movie. Because if the original movie really was supposed to be a one-off movie, which is total bullshit, then you wouldn't want to emulate that. You want to go off on your own direction.
It was just like a tradition. It's like at Christmas time we watch, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or something. But I'm all for making different ones, but that people that are original and not copies, trying to copy somebody else's work. And this one, I don't know what to say about it. I'm not even sure. At the end, I got confused because a boy decided he's going to be Michael Myers too, and he would bring him people to kill. He brought him a cop, and so he could. I don't know. I thought that was really evil and awful. I mean, that's worse than a horror movie. And I'm like, why is he doing that? Well, why did he turn into somebody like that all of a sudden? Michael Myers, he started off the way they have it anyway, and of course it's gone up, down, sideways in every direction, but he started off when he was a kid, and this guy was in his, I don't even know, 20s or early 20s, or are you still in high school? I don't know, because sometimes they have these actors come in and they're really a lot older than they are.
Yeah, well, the story is, and I say story loosely because this movie, it really feels, probably the worst part about this movie is that you can feel that this whole trilogy was a waste from the start, because the people that they assigned to make these movies, they were not worthy of making Halloween movies. They did not have any good idea to make a Halloween movie. Their idea was to take other people's ideas and then disguise them as their own.
Maybe they should ask Stephen King to do it.
No, Safi, don't even... I'd rather, stab my eyeballs out than watch Stephen King's Halloween.
Anybody who could do a horror movie.
You just need an actual fan of the series.
Well, that's what I mean. But
no, you don't. You just said anyone. No, that's why this movie was fucking trash. Is because they let anyone. And that's one of the main problems with Hollywood, too. Is that they take these franchises and they just let anyone make the movies. And that's why you have these token characters like the token Little Mermaid, the token this, the token that. You have the gender swap this, gender swap that. It's because you have people who don't respect the characters and don't respect the stories. And then you contrast that with something like Cobra Kai, where the creators actually respect the series, and so they don't have any token character, they don't have any agenda crap, and that's why that series is so fantastic. And this movie, you can really feel that they never had a plan for the trilogy, and you can feel that this movie was probably changed so many times that it's unbelievable. That because there's so many different things that they didn't even use. They had that stupid thing at the end of last movie where we saw the ghost of young Michael Myers for no reason, even though he's supposed to be human, supposedly. And what was that even about? That's the equivalent of the White Horse in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And then you had the fucking police people, the police guy who survived last movie in the hospital, talking to Lori the entire movie until she decides to join the cult, and she gives herself a little boost injection. She's just yeah.
And here she is, an older person.
It's just fucking
She just
retarded.
had surgery.
Yeah.
And she was really damaged. And we talked about this last year.
It was so bad,
or
though.
whenever it came out.
It was so bad.
It was horrible.
But
it was like listening to awful loud music that wasn't even sensible.
Well, but that police guy who survived, which I don't know how he survived Halloween 2018 at all. He's hardly even in this movie. He's there for 2 fucking seconds. And to me, he was wasted. I thought, this is the final one. Wouldn't they use these characters that they have at their disposal and not, waste them? And instead, they just focus on this completely whole new character who no one gives a flying fuck about. That's the majority of this movie, is just focusing on this new character. But then you have, other elements of the trilogy that weren't used. And it really felt like they were going to use, that girl. What was that girl, Lindsay? They show her, a couple of times as, a fan service cameo. She doesn't do jack shit in the movie.
Is she the one who had the affair with the older man?
What?
Who was that supposed to be?
What are you talking? You mean
right at the very beginning?
You mean the grandson? We'll talk about the grandson. We're talking about Lindsay now.
Okay.
The fucking the bartender girl, the girl from the original movie who grew up and she became a housewife of whatever. She's hardly in the movie, and it's why? Why did she even need to be there to begin with if she's not going to do anything? It's just for fan service. And it's they wasted so many opportunities, so many things they could have done, because it just really felt like they gave up. Is that the what you felt like, Safi?
I don't know. I just don't know. It's it's kind of like they're drowning and they're trying to save themselves.
Like rats drowning in a pool.
Yeah.
That's what they were like with this movie. Like, there was no originality. There was no passion for any sort of idea that they had. In fact, the majority of the movie, you could feel the paw prints of Jamie Lee Curtis. And this is a very big problem with movies nowadays, too, is that you have these actors who are very full of themselves, like Jennifer Lawrence, and they think that they're better than the writers, and they think that their ideas are actually going to make a better movie than the writers ever could. And so you can feel that with this movie, that like Jamie Lee Curtis, she had all these pretentious, stupid ideas that she used, like these monologues that are just so pretentious, like fucking, like what does she even say? Like, I can't even remember, because they're just these blank, generic monologues that she would do, and it's like anyone could have said those lines.
Well, if she had done that all along throughout the entire series, that would be some continuity. But all of a sudden, it's kind of like what I've done with my book. It's just trying to figure out what is going to be good at the very beginning. And
Safi, your book doesn't exist. It's not published. So
well, it's not published, but doesn't mean it's not.
You have
anyway,
to say,
we're not
my unpublished book.
My unpublished book.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to start it off in each chapter. And so her doing that monologue, that was great. But why? It would have been better if she would have. It's all of a sudden it's brand new things that they've decided to stick in there.
Well,
because she's
fan
writing
service.
A book. I don't know.
It's fan service because she's Jamie Lee Curtis. And I gotta be honest, once again, Jamie Lee Curtis is not the Halloween series. Laurie Strode is not the Halloween series. Michael Myers is the Halloween series. They don't have Laurie Strode masks. They have Michael masks.
That's right.
Michael Myers is the series. Laurie Strode is like completely irrelevant to the main plot of the series. Especially when you get to these fanboys who say that, they prefer that Laurie not be related to Michael. Because, it's scarier because she's just a random person. But it's like, oh, wait.
I think it's scarier the other way around.
Yeah, it is.
Because they're related, so what's going to happen,
But in this, of course, you have it where she's not related. But she still is like, it's like they treat her like she's like the star of the series. And she's not. In any way, like,
and she was in this movie though, for her daughter.
Even in the the grandson, even in the first one, fucking Dr. Loomis just saved her over and over again. She was complete trash. She couldn't even handle a weapon. She couldn't do anything basically, except for just wait for Dr. Loomis to show up before she gets fucking wrecked by Michael Myers. Dr. Loomis and Michael were always the true stars of the series. And so I've just gotten so sick and tired of Laurie Strode and her constant, like, her character arc just happening over and over and over again. Like, we get it. You're a strong woman. You're fighting back against Michael. But it's like, how many times do we have to suffer through seeing that? Like, because it's not believable at all. Because of the way that she acted in the first one. The way that she acts in these ones. She just acts like a total melodramatic Hallmark movie actress. In fact, people have said, I would agree. They've said a lot of things, Safi. They said this feels like Neil Breen's Halloween.
Oh,
I would agree with that totally.
wow.
That was like, I would have never expected to see Neil Breen's Halloween, but this actually did feel like Neil Breen would have made this movie. And it also felt like a Hallmark movie. It was terrible in every way, shape, or form, except for two things, I would say. So let's talk about the good things in the movie. Safi, what are the good things you have to say about this piece of fucking shit movie? Say some good things.
I don't know what to say about it. I got good things. It was it didn't seem as chaotic and loud and I can't think of the word, but is it cacophony? Or that's the good thing. It's where you have all these different sounds that come together and they make this really ugly noise. And I can't think of the word for that, but the last show, the Halloween movie that came out, the most recent one before this, that was like that noise. It's just all these, and it was just so awful and gross. And
at least Michael Myers was in the movie.
Yeah, he was in the movie about 1,000 times more. And this was kind of quiet, like somebody had let the air out of the tires.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated the quietude. But I guess at the end they tried to make up for the noise by having all those people. They formed this line with their cars.
Safi, we don't need to get to that yet. We're just talking about.
Well, I know, but that's
the good things.
Almost imitate the last movie where.
Well, it was very weird. We'll talk about that. We'll get to it.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
That was fucking retarded.
For the good things, I guess, to see Jamie Lee Curtis and that girl.
That was good to see that?
But it's still,
for the millionth time?
You're making the movie about them, and Michael Myers was not even in the movie except like scattered like somebody was. They're not allowed to use salt, so they put a tiny little bit of salt during the movie. That was like what he was like could be compared to. And in the end, it spills out a little bit, and that was him showing up at the end. That's what that was like. So I don't know what to say. There was a little bit of, quote, Halloween, trick-or-treating, but that they hardly even showed that. They showed her at her house. She used to live out in the country, all like in this fortification. Now she lives in town. And so she was decorating her front porch, which I don't get that either. I thought he was... so she wasn't afraid of him anymore?
Safi, just the things you like, because I've said we would do that first. So that's it?
I didn't like the loudness and the...
but I said things you liked.
That's what I liked.
What the fuck? Okay. The only things I liked about the movie... I would disagree. I think this movie should have been just as loud as the last one. Yeah. Because the last one at least felt more like a Halloween movie. This was so quiet, it literally felt like a Stephen King movie. Like, it had all the same problems. It had all the same hallmarks that Stephen King movies have, because they plagiarized Christine in the film. But the first thing that I liked the music for the most part. I thought that in terms of the music, I would rank it this movie's music, and then the first movie's, and then the worst was Halloween Kills. So that's in terms of for this trilogy. So I did kind of like the music. I felt like the music did try to help the movie, even though it couldn't. And I thought another thing was that, if you listen to the music, they even plagiarized the music from Christine a little bit in certain spots. And so that's another reason. So it was kind of cool because they sort of combined the music a little bit, and I thought it worked well, except for the last song, where it was just so loud and obnoxious that...
Yeah, I recognize that song. I like the song, but I don't think it fit the movie.
What?
The song that they played, the music they played, I recognized it.
Not that one, Safi. That one was in the first movie, and it did deserve to be there. I'm talking about the song that they play when they kill Michael Myers for a second or third time. Where it's almost like a modern cover of the Halloween theme, and it's complete garbage.
Weird. God, that was odd.
That was very weird. It was like from Chucky. It was like the music from Chucky Season 2, Episode 2.
Yeah.
But, so I liked the music in this one for the most part. I also really liked the actor who played Corey, the new character. I thought that he was a very good actor, and that he was actually the best actor in the whole movie and the whole trilogy. And I would agree with someone else who said that. He was the best actor. He gave a very believable performance, and it's too bad that he wasn't in a better script. And then for the bad things, everything else in the movie, everything else is terrible. So that's the bad news. And it starts off, Safi, you won't even believe this. The reason why they made the font blue for the titles, Halloween Ends, and it's in blue, it's because they wanted to plagiarize Halloween 3, which had blue font. And so since this is the Halloween 3 of the Blumhouse series, they wanted to copy the blue font.
From Halloween 3.
Yeah. What do you think of that? I mean, isn't that just fucking retarded? Like,
that's weird.
Like, that's how weird this stuff goes, that it gets. That, all the way down to the font color, you're copying other people's movies that they made, and that they actually came up with original ideas. If the movie starts off, though, and immediately you get the sense of plagiarizing Christine. And, so, by the way, you didn't participate in the review of Christine. What did you think of Christine?
It was okay. I liked it. I don't know.
I bet you did.
It wasn't a bad movie, and I thought it was very. I don't know. It's just sometimes the things that happen in these movies that makes me have kind of a blank stare. Is that I don't get what they're trying to do. And there were a couple of things that I was like, what's going on here? But I had seen the movie before 1,000,000 years ago, and all I remember is in him, the car being in a garage and trying to run into somebody. It was probably the scene where the first bad boy gets killed. But that's all I remember from it.
I hated it, but I did like it a lot more than this.
Oh, yeah.
Movie.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say that this movie was very much copying off of Christine?
Well, there were the junkyard thing. I mean, why would they do that? It doesn't fit in with what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, Lori doesn't hang around at the junkyard. She doesn't go. She doesn't have. Her boyfriend is an auto mechanic. Her daughter's boyfriend wasn't.
Safi, that's not her fucking daughter. If you even fucking watch the series.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
It's the grandson. Now. It's the grandson, Safi. We will talk about the grandson.
Oh, God.
Alex. We will talk about him.
Okay, now I remember because they said it is just the way they were hanging around together. It was like her daughter.
Yeah, because
so I keep thinking of her as I'm sorry.
She wanted her to be her daughter's surrogate.
Yeah.
So, okay, whatever, Safi. I'm just gonna do it now.
Okay.
Oh, God, Safi. Shame on you. So it starts off with a flashback to 2019 where Corey is babysitting this little shithead who, by the way, I felt nothing for him getting killed. Like, I was so happy. Like, he deserved it. Like, what a little shithead.
Well, I didn't understand that either.
What was that little fucking shithead thinking?
How did he get killed?
Because Corey kicked the door open.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
The door made him fall back over the stairwell and he fell to his death. And I thought it was hilarious because he deserved it. Like, what a little douchebag. Like, Corey was like trying to be a good babysitter, and you have this little douchebag just fucking lock him in the room, and like he puts like a knife out for some reason, and it's just very, very bizarre storytelling.
That was ugly.
But I was excited because I thought I actually liked this actor, and so I thought he was doing a great job. And then it cuts to the main story with pretentious Lori and her pretentious monologues. You know, the one thing that I was glad about with this movie is, and here's another way that you can tell that they changed this entire movie, is that originally, a year ago, they said that they were going to have this movie take place inside the pandemic, and they were going to have all this pandemic commentary in the movie that nobody wants or asks for.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, that would be a total weird, like, why nobody wants that.
I just got through reading a book series. It just mentions it just barely, like maybe a half of a sentence in each one. And it's just, that's enough.
Yeah, so
that was enough.
It's good. We don't need to mention pandemic in a Halloween movie.
No.
It's already bad enough that you plagiarized Christine. You don't need to include pandemic. So the movie's basically all about, you have this character named Corey, and he's a guy who accidentally killed this piece of shit kid who deserved it, and because he really did, Safi. Like, did you really care when that little shithead fell and hit his head on the floor? Like, he was like such a little, like, I couldn't believe, like, I thought that the kids in Rob Zombie's movies were bad, like, but this kid takes the cake. Like, he is like almost just as bad as that little biatch from American Horror Story Season 10. Alma.
Yeah.
Do you agree? I mean, didn't you think, like, God,
what in the heck?
Yeah.
And the way he was, I mean, the Corey kid was concerned because the boy disappeared, things were knocked over, and the little boy was playing on him. Because he had brought up Michael Myers. And so that's what he thought. For some reason, he thought, oh my God, Michael Myers is back here, because it was Halloween. Or near Halloween, or whatever.
It almost felt to me, though, like the kid wanted to kill Corey. Like, I thought at first maybe the kid would try to kill him, and then he'd kill the kid.
I don't know. That was really weird and bizarre.
So that's what the story's about. It's not about Michael Myers like we would want.
No, I didn't even think he was going to be in it.
The reason why, and I'll tell you why, because fanboys do not want Michael Myers to talk. Well, Corey can talk, and fans don't want Michael Myers to show his face. Well, Corey can show his face. Fanboys don't want Michael Myers to know how to drive. Corey can drive just fine.
And he could drive a motorcycle.
So that's the reason why they put this character in this movie. That because he can do all these things that fanboys won't let Michael Myers do.
Oh.
Or else they have a temper tantrum. So the movie's just all about him, and he he has this story where, like, everyone's mean to him. There's this group of bullies, just like in Christine. And then he has these piece of shit parents, just like in Christine. And they're mad that he has a gay affair with the grandson Alex Strode. And that's the movie. And then he stumbles into the sewer, and he finds Michael Myers. And Michael Myers is just lumbering around like an old person with dementia. And Corey just talks to him and hangs out with him. And Michael Myers picks him up, and he literally stares at him until he transfers some of his power into him. And that was like I gotta say, like, people have complained so many times about Michael Myers needs to be human. I don't like that Michael Myers is supernatural. But then in this movie, he has some sort of a fucking plot convenience power where he can transfer the color of his eyes into Corey. And then Corey turns into a bad guy. Yeah. And they have this stupid shit where Laurie says, I can tell that Corey's bad because I can see it in his eyes. And Safi, that should have been very relatable for you, because you had the same type of, like, weird, biased, like, event happen where you were, like, on a jury, and you said, I could tell that this guy was evil because of his eyes.
Oh,
and it's like...
I wasn't on the jury. I was. They were selecting jury members, and I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
I looked at his eyes, though, and they were like pits, black pits.
We don't need Laurie Strode's on juries.
People have used that. That's been a descriptive term in many things I've seen and read. So
yeah, but it was just so comical the way that she's like,
oh yeah,
I can tell in Corey's eyes that he's evil. And then there's this weird thing where his parents kick him out, and because he's getting a gay affair, and they kick him out, and he sleeps in the house where he killed that piece of shit brat, and Laurie's watching him, and she's like ready to kill him or something. Like, it's just so bad. This movie, this is the worst movie of the Halloween series. It's way worse than Halloween 2018.
Well, maybe it's called a quiet kind of worse.
It's way worse than Halloween Kills. But it's worse in the sense that it doesn't even feel like a Halloween movie. Like, most of the movie is about a character who has nothing to do with this trilogy. It's all about Corey.
Yes, it is. Mainly, it's this movie. And it would have been Halloween equals Corey or something.
Yeah, Halloween, Corey's Revenge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they already have Michael Myers' Revenge. Now they can have Corey's Revenge. But
really, he had more screen time than Michael.
But Michael Myers
3 times as much.
He's hardly in the movie. He's weak and pathetic. He's practically dead already. Like, it's really bad. This movie is like, it was just so bad. It blew my expectations for how bad it could be. Like, I didn't even think it would be this bad. I thought it would be pretty bad. I knew they probably wouldn't have any nudity in it whatsoever, which is something that, like, for some reason, can't have nudity in a Halloween movie anymore. We can show people getting their throats slashed open.
Their heads chopped off.
We can show blood just spraying everywhere like a fucking painting, an abstract painting. But we can't show nudity in a Halloween movie anymore because that's bad. Like, these people, they think that violence is better than nudity. They think that, like, violence is more acceptable. It's very bizarre. And so Corey starts killing people like Christine, where he lures them there. He does the thing where he writes on the car, just like in Christine, where the jock writes on the car, meet me here tonight, or some he writes Psycho, which was just another like stupid nod to Jamie Lee Curtis, Janet Leigh being in Psycho. Like he could have just written Meet Me There Tonight, but he had to put Psycho. Like that's how weird this stuff is with these people. Like this weird obsession with like just copying and calling back to other films that are better than this shit. But then they're all at the junkyard, just like in Christine, and he even does the thing where he has a car and he runs them over, or a truck, like Christine, driving around, running people over, killing them, and it's just so bad. It's like, this is not what anyone wanted in a Halloween movie. Nobody wanted this. If they tell you that they did, they're lying. They're fucking cold liars like Safi is sometimes. And then he steals Michael's mask, and they get into like a wrestling match with each other. And God, this movie is terrible. It's terrible. Safi, it's terrible.
I'm glad you liked it.
Oh. And we haven't even talked about the grandson yet. But let's just get done with Corey, because this is Corey's movie. He gets the mask, he puts it on, and then he meets with Jamie Lee Curtis. She kills him, but then he kills himself. And then there's like a romantic comedy moment where like there's what do we call that? Where somebody missed something's the misunderstanding. There's a misunderstanding moment where Alex, the grandson, sees Lori with a bloody knife and thinks that she killed Corey. And it's like, this is just cringeworthy, like a misunderstanding moment. And so then she's gonna like run away. She doesn't care someone just got murdered in the house. She doesn't even bother calling the police or anything. And then Michael comes, because Michael's following Corey, just like Christine following that Arnold around. And Michael takes his mask back, and he's the one who kills Corey. And it's like Corey gets killed like 1,000,000 times after these fucking pretentious people who praise Scream, where Scream complains about the killers coming back over and over again. Well, this movie did the same thing. In fact, you can kind of feel like it's a Scream movie as well. The way that it's so bad, and it's like a soap opera, like the newest Scream was like this. Then Michael fights with Lori a little bit, but then she beats him up, and she like pins him down to the table. And this was, to me, this was the worst part of the movie, because it was very much like that scene in Halloween Resurrection, where she has a trap for him, she hangs him upside down, and she wants to take off his mask. It was almost exactly like that, except she pins him to a kitchen table. And that's why I'm saying that you can tell that Jamie Lee Curtis wrote the majority of this movie, is because that moment felt straight up out of Halloween Resurrection. And at the time that Halloween Resurrection came out, Jamie Lee Curtis did a behind-the-scenes thing where she said that this was the perfect ending for Laurie Strode. And she said that it couldn't have happened any other way. And this is exactly what needed to happen for them to pass Halloween on to the next generation. And so somebody who said that was really good, you can tell, oh, she wrote this as well. She wanted this to happen as well. This was her idea. And boy, was it cringeworthy. She pins him down. She crucifies him, practically. She puts a refrigerator on him.
Yeah.
But then the funniest part is when he breaks his hand free and he's strangling her.
Yeah.
Just like in
I thought
Halloween.
they were both gonna. Actually, I thought they were both gonna die.
Yeah, just like in Halloween Resurrection, by the way. But then the grandson comes back, and she does like a wrestling move where she runs into frame, and she grabs Michael's arm, and she just like breaks it off or something, and it was so hilarious. Like, how could anyone take this shit seriously? It was like WWE with these two women, and then that wasn't even the worst part, because Safi, you talk for a little bit.
Well, it's just
okay, never mind.
They piled it on like it was nobody's business. I couldn't believe it, and they just kept going and going, and then they even ended the movie with the final ultimate pile on, which copied Christine, of course.
Yeah, well, that was the worst part, because the whole movie was telling people Haddonfield was always the real villain, because all these people, they turned Corey into a bad guy. And but then at the end of the movie, Haddonfield still hasn't learned their lesson, and they're still mobbing up to kill this person. And I don't care who he is. Like, if he's a human being, he should have been put back away. But apparently he's not dead after she slashed his throat or something. They say, like, we need to kill him a second time. Like, just really, So they take him to the junkyard, just like in Christine. They destroy him. And it's like, this is not a positive ending. This is like, oh, they haven't learned their lesson. There's still this mob of people who will kill people, like in Halloween Kills. And it's like, I don't like any of these people in Haddonfield now. Like, they actually, somehow with this movie, well, Laurie Strode, her character's already been trash ever since Halloween 2018, when she turned into an abusive alcoholic grandmother. Mm-hmm. But she's ruined. Michael Myers is ruined because they turned him into an old person who can't do jack shit. And then
I thought he's just playing himself. In other words, he is older, right? That is an older man playing him.
Yeah, but the older actor is capable of doing better. I mean, he did better in the other two movies, wouldn't you say? Or at least in Halloween 2018.
He really, when he was on screen, he did the only excitement he could generate, really, because when he killed the rest of them, it was very.
He was even making noises like, like, that was the funny part, was these fanboys, they complain and complain. In the Rob Zombie movies, Michael Myers makes noises while he stabs people. Like, he's not supposed to make any noise whatsoever. He's not supposed to go like, you know, he's not supposed to ever do that, because that never happens ever in real life. But then this Michael Myers, this old man, Michael Myers, he's going around going like,
but not all the time. Just a little bit.
Like, Laurie stabs him and he's like, it's just like,
well, he doesn't have much. I know what he's lacking energy.
Yeah, he's like Saul in the final season of Better Call Saul. And I'd actually say, Safi, Better Call Saul Season 6 was better than this. Whoa. Isn't that? What do you think about that?
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
Really bad.
Since, Better Call Saul Season 6 is one of the worst things ever made in human history.
It really was terrible. We just got through watching, we've talked about this before, X-Files, which was 9 seasons.
That was better than this.
I was going to say, even in its 9th season,
better.
There were really good episodes. And, there were some bad ones. I'm not saying there wasn't, but
But
there were some really good ones.
There were always bad ones in the series. Like, that's what happens when you make a show.
Yeah, any show. Not every episode's perfect. And I mean, some were like far from perfect. But anyway, I don't understand why they can't get somebody who's a little bit more knowledgeable or...
Oh, I know.
I don't understand what is the problem. They just can't write? Or...
Well, what I was saying, though, is wouldn't you agree with this? They've almost villainized Haddonfield to where, like...
Yeah.
Now it's like all the people of Haddonfield, I don't like any of them. And so, like, who cares if Michael Myers kills them? Like, that's to the point of where it's gotten. Like, I don't care about these people who live here. They're terrible. They're weirdos. They're, like, you know, it's a lot different than Twin Peaks, where the people are very nice.
I know, everybody loves the characters. They're dying off, and they wish they could see them again. But
Yeah.
they won't write anymore for
David
some
Lynch
reason.
can't handle that.
And so they're just going to die off.
Yeah, all the actors will just dust away into existence, and it's like, oh well, we couldn't do that. But with this, it's like, you know, who cares if these people get killed by Michael or Corey or whoever else? Like, who cares? Because, like, they're weird. They're like, they form mobs to kill people, and like what they did with this, where it was like a Salem witch trial, where they throw them into this shredder like Christine, and then she says, like, they didn't even give him a gravestone or anything, and it's like, you know, this is not normal behavior. Like, fucking Ted Bundy has a gravestone. Ed Gein has a gravestone.
How about that other guy,
Who?
the clown?
The Pit?
The clown guy.
Yes, Safi. John Wayne Gacy has a gravestone.
Wow.
All these fucking piece of shit serial killers have gravestones. For some reason, Michael Myers doesn't, because it's just an allegory for the Me Too movement, whatever the fuck they wanted to mean with this bad movie. And the thing is that this movie, it reeks of pretentiousness. It reeks of people who think that they're making something that's so much more important to them than it is to anyone else. Because, like, at the end of the day, this movie is just a really bad slasher wannabe movie. The attempts at comedy in it are terrible. The attempts at horror in it are terrible. There's nothing scary in this movie. There's a couple of shitty-ass, loud noise jump scares where something happens and it's like, whoa! Loud noise! And that's the scares in this movie. So, like, this movie fails on every level. And the worst part of the movie... You want to guess what... Oh, wait, I already said the worst part of something else, but... Safi, let's talk about the grandson, Alex. What do you have to say, Safi? Alex. Alex Strode. What do you have to say?
Are you talking about that person? That wasn't a boy.
But she dresses like a boy.
Oh, Marco,
sometimes.
For heaven's sakes.
Safi.
That was a fashion. My God, I'm sitting here this entire review confused about what you're saying. And now I remember you.
Yeah.
Just because she dressed like Annie Hall, you're having a fit about it.
Safi, it's the grandson. Get over it.
Oh,
She
Lord.
did a terrible job. Her acting was terrible in every way. Every scene, every single moment of the whole film, it was like watching someone who's never been in a film before. But the thing is I've seen people who've never acted in a film before act better than this. Like, I gotta say, like, her acting, Jamie Lee Curtis's acting, they were the worst parts of the movie in terms of acting, because they were just so bad. They were so over the top, like they're in a Hallmark movie, and I just really despised how most of this movie is like some shitty ass indie romantic comedy with the grandson. The only thing that they did was, I think they watched our reviews, because they did make her dress in like a girly costume this time. And so I think they did that because of our reviews. But the thing is that it just wasn't enough. That little thing.
Well, no, dressing up isn't enough.
Well, that little costume. Well, that little costume change. It wasn't enough to call her anything but a grandson. So, Safi, wouldn't you agree?
Are you talking about that little black dress with the lace?
Yeah, like the costume where she had the cat mask on.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
right.
okay.
We only saw it for about 5 seconds.
That was like a girl costume. That was better than dressing like a boy. So,
it was okay. I thought it was really nice.
I hated this shitty story where her character is like, it's just repeating the same stuff from the last 2 movies too with her. And she's like yelling at Lori, and she's like, Lori, blah, 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 over and over and over again the whole movie. And it just, it's too bad though, because I mean, I think it's the script. I don't think it's her as an actress. I think it's just the script was terrible. The only thing that was good was Corey and the music. Everything else was terrible. So, I hated this movie. It was definitely the worst of the franchise. Safi, what's your food, or what do you have to say?
I'll just say my food review of it is pistachio ice cream without the pistachio nuts.
What?
Because it didn't have Michael Myers until like the very end. They sprinkled them in a tiny bit, like from the middle to the end. In the end, he was in there a lot so he could get killed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they mashed him up into a cube at the junkyard.
They didn't mash him up into a cube,
Didn't they?
No, they put him in like a grinder.
Oh.
But it was the same type of thing where like...
To make into a cube.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Ugh. Anyway.
Ugh. This was terrible. I don't know why you're not more upset about it, because
I'm just like, I have no expectations whatsoever.
Really?
Well, I would expect that Michael Myers would be in it a lot more, and they weren't making this into a Lifetime movie or something. Marco keeps saying Hallmark. I think it's more like a Lifetime movie.
Well, it looked like a Hallmark movie, though. It didn't look... Lifetime movies are very ugly and colorless and dull.
Well,
Hallmark movies are overly colorful.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant.
Well, it's a card company, and they're making the scenes like cards, like they come out of a card. So that's why it's like that. Plus all the sentiment you send in a card.
Safi, what kind of sentiment do you have towards Michael Myers? Never mind. Okay.
Just the colorless. Well, he's older. He's older, and they made him like that.
Yeah, they chose to make him a human. They chose to make him not related to Lori. They chose to do all these things that led to this trash. And so that's another thing that's important to discuss, is that all of their poor decision making back then in 2018 that you guys ignored and said it's the greatest thing that ever happened to the series, even though it wasn't. It was the exact opposite.
No.
All of those bad decisions led to this.
Yeah.
My food rating
I can't wait to hear it.
I was thinking about what's the worst Halloween candy? Oh, circus peanuts.
Oh, you don't like circus peanuts?
You don't either.
No, I don't. They're odd.
They're very weird. It's like eating foam.
They've been around since I was a kid.
It has such a gross taste.
Somebody likes them because
nobody,
they keep making them.
I don't know.
They've been making those since I was a kid.
Well, I was thinking, last year we had a really delicious dinner before we watched Halloween Kills, where we had thin crust Domino's pizza and champagne. And I was thinking, this movie is like, what if you took a pizza and then you take all the cheese and toppings off.
Yeah, and it's just a crust.
And you put on circus peanuts with the sauce.
Gross.
So this is the special Halloween Ends circus peanut pizza. And then to top that off,
gross.
The grandson comes over and she gives you a bottle and you think it's going to be champagne. But of course, the grandson probably prefers wine. And so you get to have a little box of wine with your circus peanut pizza.
Oh, God.
That's this movie.
Ugh.
So if you like eating pizza without having any of the toppings or cheese on, you like to have circus peanuts on it, with a box of wine from the grandson, you will love this movie. If not, you will hate it, and you'll think it's an abomination of trash.
Well, just to make it clear, a circus peanut's like, it's orangey, and it's like 2 inches long and 1 inch wide, and it looks like a giant peanut. And it's just orange, and like Marco said, it's, it's kind of like foam. You know those foam? You can get them, you can do foam cutouts and foam stickers. That's what it's like, the consistency. I don't know what it's supposed to be made of. It's probably just all sugar.
And it has a very gross artificial taste.
It's not good. I've never liked them.
We gave it a chance. We bought one bag. We both ate one peanut, and then we threw it in the trash.
It was only a couple. It was like you could sample all these different candies, but it was only like $1 or $2 a bag. So it wasn't a really big bag. It was kind of like they have a whole wall of them, different candies.
Well, Safi, so that's it. I can't wait until they finally make a real Halloween movie again, because I want more Michael Myers.
I don't know. I don't.
I do, because
not unless they're going to do a good job.
Well, yeah.
I just forget it. Just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, don't do any more plagiarisms.
If you're tired of doing it, then don't do it, because we don't need it. Why don't you invent a new character? How about that? We haven't seen a new.
They wanted to, and then the fanboys complained, and they said, we want Michael Myers back in Halloween 4. And so then the studio said, okay, Michael Myers, return of Michael Myers.
Okay, and let's. I just want to bring this up too, because I was thinking about it early on.
I bet you were.
Is that Halloween was not originally supposed to be just Michael Myers.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a series of Halloween movies. I just think the way they described it, or something, that they did not make that clear, and people got fixated on the Michael Myers part. And they just wanted that all the time. But they did try it with a different kind of story, and it was really good. It was creative anyway, and different, which is I like to see personally. And it didn't go over, because I don't think it's like. When you watch, let's say, Goosebumps, which is not anywhere related to this, but in the way that he would write these different horror books. Well, they're all different. They have different stories, different characters, but they're all...
But now all he does is write slappy books, so...
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about in the early days. And so, I mean, they have different titles, different characters, and they don't repeat on each other. Well, I guess they do a little bit. Marco was been reading them and reviewing them, but anyway, the ones that you saw early on, they're all different, but they're all related to one thing, like scares, monsters, horror, and that's what they wanted to do at the Halloween. But people got stuck on the Michael Myers thing, and they thought, oh, that's what this is supposed to be. Michael Myers movie every Halloween.
To be fair, if that's what, at least that's better than this, what they did with this movie.
Well, they could have done that, brought him back like a few, like every so often, and not just once, but often. And then they had other different ones mixed in there too.
I think that it's kind of like American Horror Story, even though that show's terrible. Yeah. It's kind of like how they'll have like a character who's very popular, and they'll bring that character back once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what would have worked with Halloween. Like, maybe Michael's on the run, and during another story he pops up, and he tries to kill someone, and they escape, and then they have to also deal with the main bad guy or something.
Yeah.
Like, something like that would work.
Or it kind of ties in. It's more connected instead of remake, but different, throwing away original characters and pretending like they never existed. There's no continuity at all.
Yeah, like my favorite part of Halloween 3 was when he was when the Halloween 1 music played, when he's tied up in the chair and he had to escape. Like, I thought that was the coolest part, because it did feel like the movies connected even though they weren't connected. And so, anyways.
Alright, well, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. We welcome all new subscribers, and if you've seen this movie or you want to see it, go right ahead. And then you can comment about it and share your thoughts, because we'd love to hear them. It'll be interesting. And what do you think that should happen? And what did you think? Did you think that the way we presented it, with just there wasn't much Michael Myers, it was mainly a story about Laurie Strode and her daughter or whatever she
grandson.
And granddaughter.
Grandson.
And then also that boy who, I don't know, I guess he became Michael Myers, kind of. I don't know. He tried. And he was very good. Actually, he was a very good actor. And so what did you think about that? Did you agree? Or what do you think? What would you like to see? So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.